So I'm just going to start from the today's daf. Bez Hashem is daf Ayin Aleph, and we're going to start from 3 lines of Ayin Amid Beis. Again, we're dealing with the parsha of Ben Sora or Mora, someone who is a wayward son who steals from his parents, and he steals money from his parents. And we'll just go through the steps. The steps is that he steals money from his parents, it was basically his father, and buys a certain amount of meat, tarmita meat, and a certain fancy wine, but intoxicating wine that's not so expensive. And because of that, his parents find out about it. They warn him. He does it again, and the witnesses told him to stop, and he doesn't. They bring him to a bezdin. Bezdin will give him lashes, and then if he commits it a third time, then the parents bring the child to the bezdin, and this time the bezdin will stone the child. So we're discussing over here what would make an addiction. So achal kol he has to eat meat and drink wine. That's the key. It's not like cheese and beer. It has to be meat and wine. So we learn achal kol ma'achal v'lo achal basar. If he eats any food but did not eat meat, he's not a ben sora mora. So what does that mean? Latuye devela ki'ilis. Apparently the fig from Keilis was made you very drowsy or something like that. It had an intoxicating feeling, and still that's not meat. Shasa kol mashke v'lo shasa yain. If you drink any type of beverage, but it wasn't wine, latuye dvash v'chol. If you drink honey and milk, so honey and milk is not the it's intoxicating. It makes you drowsy. It makes you not function, but it's not addictive. And I guess meat and wine together is an addictive practice. And the reason why we kill a Ben Saramara, because we're concerned that if to feed his addiction, he's going to eventually, if his parents run out of money, then he'll eventually kill somebody. So the Torah says, let's kill him now. The Tanya we learned in a brisa, achal devela ki'ilis. If someone ate devela ki'ilis, v'shasa devash v'chalav, and drank milk and wine and milk and honey, v'nichnas lemigdash, and he was a kohen, and he did the service in the Beis Hamikdash, so that's wrong. The Torah says you're not supposed to serve me when you're drunk, chayev. So you're held liable. However, you're not going to become a ninasa ben sora moira achi yishta basav yishta yain, achi yoichel basav yishta yain. Until you eat meat and drink wine, you're not going to be a ben sora mora. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, you ate any food but did not eat meat. Shasa kol mashke v'lo shasa yain, and you drank any type of liquid that it's intoxicating, but it wasn't wine. Einanasa ben sora moira, until you eat meat and drink wine. You don't become a ben sora mora until you have those two factors. Shenema, the pasuk says, zoilel v'soivei. You are zoilel, means he's a glutton, v'soivei, and a drunk. That's what the Torah describes the Ben Saramoira. And so, how do you know? Maybe a glutton means he's eating pizza. How do you know? We can't prove it. We have a mention of that. In another where in Tanakh, it says that the word soive refers to wine, and zoilel refers to meat. Al tihit, the pasuk says initially, don't be besoive yayin, those that get drunk on wine, bezailele, those that are gluttonous, basalamai, that put meat in themselves. So we see that zoilel v'soive refers meat and wine. So when the Torah tells you by Ben Saramara zoilel v'soive, it means they are drunk on meat and wine. Now, to finish to square everything off, the Gemara has a drasha from the last part of the pasuk. The pasuk says in Mishlei, "Ki soive v'zoilel," someone who's drunk and someone who's a gluttonous, yivarash, will become poor. That's easy because you have to feed that taiva. Ukroim, and that you'll run out of money. Ukroim talbish numa, and rips will ripped clothing will be the clothing of someone who falls asleep. What does that mean? Ripped clothing will be the clothing of somebody who falls asleep. Amar Rab Zera explained. A lot of times you see that the idea is to come to learning, you have to be fully awake. In other words, you have to get a good night's sleep. So if the Rab Zera said, Kol Hayoshem bebeis medrash, if you sleep in the base of medrash, so then even though you're learning, Torah nasus loy kroim kroim, your Torah is ripped. In other words, you'll learn a little bit, and then you're not going to remember you're learning because you're sleeping in the base of Madrash. Ne'emal kroim talbish numa. You'll have ripped thoughts. In other words, not connected thoughts. Those that sleep. Those that sleep. So it's important. It's not about FaceTime in the base of Medrash, obviously, even though you're supposed to learn. It's about being well rested when you're coming to learning, so that your learning is much more complete and you can make the connections. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make the proper connections when you learn. So now the Gemara, the Mishnah continues. Gonav, again, in other words, in order for we have to have a Ben Sora Mora, we describe that it has to be something that could lead to an addiction. So what is that? It has to be that he steals from his parents, but not eating the meat and drinking the wine in his parents' house. He has to eat them, drink the wine in somebody else's house because he's not going to get caught, because his parents are not going to come down from the bedroom to the kitchen and see him eating meat and drinking wine. So it's easy to steal from your parents and eat it somewhere else. That's when you become a Ben Saramura. So the Mishnah says, Gonav, if he stole Mishel Aviv from his father's purse, V'achal b'shus Aviv, but ate it in the domain of his father, he ate it in the kitchen, then he's not a Ben Saramura. Mishel Acherim, you steal from other people, so it's not so easy to steal from your other people. You have to break into their homes. V'achal b'shus Acherim, and then you ate it in other people's homes, also no good. Mishel Acherim v'achal b'shus Aviv, and certainly if you steal from somebody else, which is very hard to do, v'achal b'shus Aviv, and you eat in your father's house, so you're going to get caught. So once he, in his mind, is doing something that's very risque, he's not going to lead to an addiction. So Ein Nasa Ben Sharamar. It's not. It doesn't become a Ben Sharamar. Ad sheyigna Mishel Aviv v'yoichal b'shus Acherim. You have to steal from your father and eat it in somebody else's house. So then it's not so. It's an addictive because it's easy to steal from your father and eat it somewhere else where you're not going to get caught. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says, you have to steal not from your father's wallet, but you have to steal from money that's designated for both your father and your mother. The Gemara is going to discuss that. That means, if you steal from your father and eat it in your father's house, it's easy to steal from your father, but you're still afraid to eat in your father's house. He's afraid. So if he does such a risky act, it's not going to lead to an addiction. If he eats in the kitchen, he steals from somebody else and eats in their house, even though he's not afraid because he's eating somewhere away from his parents. It's not so common to steal from somebody else. It takes you have to break into their house. Certainly, if you steal from somebody else and then you eat it in your father's kitchen, it's not a common way to steal. It's not easy to steal. Ubiis, and he's always afraid his father's going to catch him. Certainly, you don't become a Ben Sar of Moira. You have to steal from your father's house, and then eat the meat and drink the wine, in somebody else's house. It's easy to get the money because you steal from your parents, and then you're not afraid to getting caught because you're going to eat it away from the house. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, you have to steal from both your father and your mother. So how is it possible that Imay Manole, where does she have money? I mean, where do they have money together? Because Mashakonse Isha Kanabala, whatever the woman owns, it's really owned by the husband. I mean, there was no joint bank accounts in the time of the Chazal, and even if it was joint, it's really owned by the husband. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanuna said it's Misuda Amuchanes Lo Aviv V'imai. He stole from a meat and wine that was like supper for their parents. So he actually stole the meat and drank the wine that was prepared for his parents' dinner. Says the Gemara, that's not good enough. Rav Huna said, he's not liable, he has to steal money Achiyikna basa bezol until he buys cheap meat, v'yochel yain bezol and drink v'yochel and eat yain bezol v'yishten drink wine, and buy wine that's cheap enough and drink. So, according to Rav Huna, you actually have to steal cash in order to become a ben Sarah Moira. Ela Ema, let's explain. Midmei suuda hamuchanes lavavima. There was money put aside that was set for the food of the father and mother, and the father is required to feed his wife, right? Mezainis. So they had money set aside. This is where we're going to buy our supper from. He stole that money and bought meat and wine with it, and that's how he stole, according to Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda, from both his father and mother. If you want to know another way that a mother will have money that does not belong to the father, someone gave her money on condition, someone gave a woman money on condition that your husband has no jurisdiction over that money. So according to this teretz, the Ben Saramora actually stole from the wallet of like $5 from the wallet of the father, and then $5 from the purse of the mother. The mother's money was received by, let's say, an uncle of hers that gave it to her on condition that her husband will have no jurisdiction over that money. So that's really her money. So only then, according to Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda, are you considered a Ben Saramor. You have to steal from both parents. The Mishnah says, the father wants to bring him to Bezdin to kill him. The Ima Eina Raitza, and the mother does not want to kill the boy. Elva Veina Raitza, the Ima Raitza, it's the opposite. The father doesn't want and the mother wants. Eina Nasa Ben Saramor, you don't become a Ben Saramor, Achiyu Shneim Raitzem, until you both have the father and mother are both in on this to bring him to Bezdin to have him killed. They both have to agree to that. Rabbi Yehuda said, if the mother was not, lined up with the father, you don't become a ben saramara. So what did Rabbi Yehuda mean to say? What does it mean? The mother is not appropriate for the father. Are you saying that the mother and father had an illicit marriage? So that mother is really not the bashert of the father. Saif, you should become a ben saramara. Saif, avua, the father, avuanin is his father. The ime, the mother, imenin is his mother. So that should not stop the son from becoming a ben saramara. Ella, here comes the home run of what Rabbi Yehuda is trying to say. B'shavel aviv, the mother has to be equal to the father. Kamar, what does that mean? That means, we're going to see what that means. If the mother did not equal the father, bikoil, having the same type of voice, obviously I can't be exactly, one has a woman's voice, one has a man's voice, but what I think it means, the same tone or same pitch. B'mara, they both have to look alike. Uvakoyman, they should be like the same height. You can't have a husband and wife that looks like in Lulav and Esrig. They have to be like the Yom Kippur goats that look alike and on the twin goats that are the same height. Unless the parents are totally equal in appearance, you don't become a ben saramara. Ma'atama, Damakra, the pasuk says, Einenu shemei b'koilenu, that he doesn't hear our voice. In other words, they're both like, it could have said b'koiloseinu, with our voice, plural. But it says b'koilenu, singular. So the mother and father are like singular, like one person. In other words, they look very, very similar. And mid the kol bein shavim, we need that the voices sound alike. Mara v'koymen nami bein shavim. So we also need that the appearance and the height should also be the same, which makes this an impossible parent matchup, almost impossible. Because how is it possible to have the parents to look exactly alike? Come on, Azza, who does the bright Hadatanya? We learned in a Brisa, Ben Saramara Lahaya V'lay Asad Liyas. The Ben Saramara parsha in the Torah and Kiseitse never happened, and it cannot happen. V'lama nichtav. So why did the Torah give you a mitzvah that can never be a possibility? The Rosh, you have to learn it, v'kabel sachar, and you accept rewards. What do you learn from the Ben Saramara? No matter what, even if you have all the reasons to put somebody to death, you can never judge somebody. You don't know, and therefore that's the reward that you get from learning the parsha of Ben Saramara. So who's the opinion that the Ben Saramara never happened? Come on, Rabbi Yehuda, it goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. If you want, I could tell you. Rab Shimon, the author of the Brisa is Rab Shimon. The tiny we learned to the Brisa. Amar Rab Shimon said, just because he ate a little meat and drank wine, now your parents could take him to kill him? Which parents are going to do that, says Rab Shimon. It never happened. It can never happen. Parents taking to have their child killed. But why is it written? Learn it and you get reward. So we learned that Rab Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda are both of the opinion that a Ben Saramara is sort of like an impossibility. Comes along Amar Rabbi Yonis said, Ani Re'isiv, I saw a kever of a Ben Saramara, v'yashavti al kivra, and I sat next to his kever. So I'm a witness that there was such a thing of a Ben Saramara. And another parsha in the Torah that's written in the Torah that's almost an impossibility is the parsha of Ir Anidachas, where a whole city does avodah zarah and you burn the whole city down. Come on, Oz the Tanya that we learned in the Brisa. Ir Anidachas lehoisav lo yasid eliyos. The Brisa says that Ir Anidachas never happened, can never happen. V'lama nichteva. Why did the Torah write the whole story of Ir Anidachas in the Torah? Droish v'kal b'sachar. You just learn it, then you get reward. Come on, Rabbi Eliezer. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Kol irsh yesh bo afilu mezuzah achas." You have a full once in the whole city, and the one person has a mezuzah in the city. Ein nasa ir anidachas. You don't make that city a ir anidachas. My tama. What's the reason? Amakra. The pasuk says. The Torah tells you that when the whole city does avodah zarah, you burn down the whole city and all the possessions of the city. But if there's a mezuzah, how are you going to burn a mezuzah? If there was a mezuzah in the city, you can't burn down the city. You're not allowed to burn, a parchment with the God's name on that. So we see from there that it's almost impossible to have this parsha of Ir Nidachas. Again, another situation where the Torah talks about a mitzvah, and it's almost impossible to keep. So Rabbi Yonis said, not true. I saw it. I saw a city and that was Ir Anidachas. V'yashafti al tila, and I sat on its mound, on the tel, Tel. And so Rabbi Yonis said it existed. Come on, Oslo, who's the author of this brisa? How the time we learned in the brisa? A house that gets a nega, a leprosy house, so to speak, gets a white blotch on the stones. Never, it can't happen. So why did the Torah write it? Just learn it and you get reward. Come on, Shimon. It's the opinion of Reb Shimon. Because to have this house that has a leprosy on it, it has to be, the leprosy has to be, the nega has to be on two stones of the house. The time we learned in the Mishnah, it has to be two grisen on the two stones. Not on two walls. How's that possible? Is in the corner. If it's in the corner, it has to be a length of two grisen. So each nega is a gris by a gris. So it has to extend that in a corner. Otherwise, if it's just on a wall, you're not a bayis hamanuga. My Talmud Rab Shimon Beloza, Ksiv Kir, Ksiv Kiros, Ezekir Shekikiris, Avem Karen Zavis. Torah tells you it should be on a wall, then it says it should be on walls. So which is a wall, that one wall that becomes two walls, that's the corner. So it can never be, it was so much, the chances of having a bayis hamanuga was next to nil. So therefore, Rabbi Shimon says it never happened, and the Torah just wrote it. You just learn the parsha, and you get some reward for learning it. Tanya, I found a place in the Gaza Strip, Tchum Aza, and they would call it Churvas Segirta, a place where they throw a destruction, a house that was destroyed because of a nega. So we see that the houses did have negoim there. Amar Rab Shimon Ish Kfar Akoy. Rab Shimon said, "Pam achas hayichse alachte legalil." I went to up north in Israel. Reisi mokam shemitzayin, and I saw a place that they marked off. Here was a bayis hamanuga. Here's stones from a house that had a nega in it, because those stones, a kohen cannot tame himself to it. Those stones are like if you put your hand over it, you become tame. Va'amru. And people were saying, Avonim Menuga is Pinusham. They used to put the mega stones there. So according to Reb Shimon, it did exist. Now the Mishnah discusses like this. Remember, they had to bring him to Bezdin. So this is after the third time. Remember, the third time. By the way, after the first time that he steals, his parents have to warn him. No punishment. The parents have to warn him. Then he steals again. Then he gets Malchus with the Bezdin of 3. Then he steals again. They bring him to Bezdin of 23. Part of the 23 was 3 that gave him Malchus. And then they kill the Ben Saramara. So Mishnah says, if one of the parents was Gidein, somebody who doesn't have a hand, or Chigar, or is missing a foot, or limping, or Elim, a parent can't talk, or Suma, or blind, or Cherish, cannot hear. So, Ein Nasa Ben Saramar, you don't become a Ben Saramar. The parents have to have no handicaps. Shnema, because the Pasuk says, the parents have to grab him. Like Gidman, they cannot have anyone that's missing a hand. They have to walk him out. They cannot be limping or missing feet. They have to say to the Bezdin, our son is a Saramara. They cannot be mute. They have to be able to talk. They have to point to their son. They cannot be blind. He doesn't listen to our voice. They cannot be deaf. In other words, because the boy, they have to say, witness to the Bezdin that we warned our son, and he told us, I'm not listening to you, daddy and mommy. So they can't be deaf. The parents cannot be deaf. So Masrin boy, the parents warn the kid. Then he does it again. They bring him Malchus. Bifnei shloisha malkanoisa. That's how you read it. In front of 3, they give him Malchus. Then Chazav Kilka, if he does it a third time, then they bring him to Bezdin to be killed. The ones that are from the original Bezdin have to be part of the Bezdin that's going to kill him. In other words, the ones that gave him Malchus. Shnema, b'neinu zeh, they're pointing to their son and says, you know my son, because part of the 3 out of the 23 were the Bezdin that was involved in giving my son Malchus. Shamat Minaz, the Gemara says, Be'in and Kra to the Ksiv. Maybe the fact that you disqualify parents, it means that you take the pasuk literally. Sometimes the pasuk shouldn't be always taken so literally, and we had a machlokes for that. And says the Gemara, Shani Hacha, over here is different. We go to Amud Beis. The Kula Kra Yisera, the whole pasuk is extra. In other words, each part of this pasuk is completely extra to teach us a din and how the parents should look. So therefore, we darshan they have to have hands, they can't be blind, they have to have feet, etc. They warn him in front of 3 people. So the Gemara says, Lamali, why do they have to warn him in front of 3 people? Betray Sagi, it should be enough with 2. In other words, if you read the Mishnah, it's like a run-on sentence. They warn him in front of 3 people. Rabbi explained, this is the shot in the Mishnah. In other words, as I explained the Mishnah, the parents warn him. Masrim boy b'fnei shayim. The parents have to warn him in front of 2 people, and then he does it again. And another group of Eidim say, your parents warned you, don't do it. And then he does it anyway. And then 3 Bezdins give him Malchus. So the Gemara asks a question, where does it say in the Chumash that you give Malchus? The Torah only says that you give him Misa, you give him the Skila. How do you give him Malchus? And says the Gemara, like Rabbo explained, the Amar Rabbo, Laman of Yisru, Ben, V'hoyim Ben Hakos Rasha. So there's somehow of a a chain of Gzeir that teach us that that the Ben Saramara first gets Malchus, and then if he steals a third time, he gets Misas Bezin. So from the Yisru Oisai means they warn him. You learn 2 things, very important. The Yisru Oisai means the parents have to warn him with no punishment. So the first time he steals, the parents warn him with no punishment. The second time he steals, then he gets a Yisru, he gets a Malchus. And the third time he steals, then the parents bring him to Bezdin. Okay, another 2 more minutes and then we'll stop. So the Gemara says Mishnah says that the Bnei Nuzeh teach us that part of the 23 has to be, the 3 have to be from the ones that gave him Malchus. The 3 of the Bezdin have to be from the 3 that gave him Malchus. Because you learn Bnei Nuzeh, but we learned Zeh v'loy Sumin. That teaches us that the parents can't be blind. So the Gemara says, "In came lichte b'neinu hu." The parents could bring the child and say, "This child, is ours, and we're bringing him to Bezdin to get the death penalty." My b'neinu zeh. Why did the pasuk say this is our child? Shmami nomitarte. You see two ideas. One, that the parents should not be blind, but you see another idea is that part of the Bezdin that was 23, three out of them have to be from the earlier Bezdin that gave him Balkas. So they recognize the Ben Sarah. Now the Mishnah says, Borach, if the another minute or two. Borach, if let's say they paskin the Ben Sarah. Remember, let's say from 13 to 13 and 3 months, that's the din of Ben Sarah. But what happens? The middle of the trial, Baruch, the kid ran away. They didn't have a chance to finish the trial. And then he matured, and then they find him. And so Potter, then he doesn't get the death penalty. Because you can't be a Ben Saramara at the time that they caught him. And they didn't finish his trial. So therefore, if they catch him now, and too late, he is exempt from the death penalty. But let's say if they finished and paskin that he gets the death penalty, let's say at 13 and 1 month, they paskin he's a Ben Saramari, he gets the death penalty. And then he ran away. So they already established that he gets the death penalty. And then when they find him, then they find him 2 years later, and he's already a mature boy. Still, Chayev, he still gets the death penalty because the Nigmar Hadin happened when he was a person that was worthy to bring the death penalty. So we're just going to do one more line over here with the Gemara. It brings a proof and then explains our Mishnah. Amar Rab Chanina said, Ben Noach sheberach Hashem, a Ben Noach that curses the Eibishter. And so, therefore, when he cursed the Eibishter, he should only get a sayif. But then, before we brought him to trial, he became a Jew. Potter, he's exempt. Since when he became a Jew, the way we judge a Jew is very different than we judge a guy. You need witnesses and you need warnings, etc. Plus, as a Jew, if he would curse Hashem when he's a Jew, he won't get the sayif, the sword, he would get skila. So therefore, he's totally exempt, because if he did it now, he would get a harsher punishment than when he did it originally. And now that he's a Jew, we can't really judge him. We can't judge him now to give him the harsher punishment, so totally he gets exempt. So the Gemara concludes, Name a Messiah, let us bring a proof. We see that idea in our Mishnah. When the guy ran away, when the Ben Saramai ran away before they finished the trial, he's exempt. He just got away with it. Even if we find him later on and he's matured, my tama la mishum damrim ishtani. Since we see he had a change of body, so that's it. He got away with it. Same idea. Once the Ben Noach became a Jew, he's a changed person. And so Gemara Loi, that is very different. By the Ben Sarah Moira, if he did it now, if we find him at 15 and a half, he can't be a Ben Sarah Moira right now. So we can't finish up the trial, so we can't kill him. Over here, a Ben Noach that curses and becomes a Jew that curses, well, as a Ben Noach you can't curse, and as a Jew you can't curse. So therefore, just because we didn't start a trial when he was a guy, we could start a trial when he's a Jew and give him the Misa of a Jew as skila. So there's no proof from our Mishnah to what Rab Chanina said, which it was amazing, that if a guy that cursed the Eibishter and then became a ger, he sort of got away with it. And we'll talk about this later. The Gemara continues and says like this, Tashma, come in here. Im nigmar dinoi barach. If from the end of the Mishnah, if after we paskin the din, the boy ran away, do we see that you kill the boy? So we see that you don't get away with anything. So how did Rab Chanina say that a Ben Noach that became a ger, he's potter, he gets away with it? And says the Gemara, you're talking about they paskin already that he's supposed to get killed. So he's a dead man anyway. So therefore, you can't bring a proof as a question against Rab Chanina. Rab Chanina is saying that a Ben Noach that cursed the Eibishter and then became a Jew, he gets away with it. Tashma, come in here. Ben Noach Shika Chavera. We learned in the Brisa Ben Noach that killed his friend. Ubal Aishas Chavera. Or he was Mazana with the wife of his friend. So both Averis you're not allowed to do as a goy. Vinus guy and then became a ger. Potter, he's exempt. Similar idea to what Rab Kanina said. Also came be Yisrael Vinus guy, but the Mishnah's Brisa says that if he did to a Jew, that means a goy was Mazana with a Jewish woman, or killed a Jew, and then he became a ger, chayiv, he's exempt. So we ask first on the end of Mamai, why is he liable? Why is he chayiv if he killed a Jew when he was a goy? Name, or he was Mazana with a Jewish woman, married woman when he was a guy. Name, let us say, Hoyel vishtani ishtani. Since now you're a Jew, you changed your identity, so you're not the same person. So therefore, you should not be held liable. We should not be killing you. And says the Gemara, Dinoi umisasoi be'inim. But Rechanina said the way just becoming a Jew doesn't make you off the hook. Your misa has to change. V'hai, but the case when you killed a ben noach that killed a Jew, or mizana with an Ashish Jew, so misas dina ishtani, he's now a Jew. So the way we judge him is differently than the way we judge him as a goy. But misasei lo nishtani, he doesn't change his misa, because as a ben noach that killed a Jew. And a Jew that kills a Jew, they get the same misa. And a Jew and a ben noach that's mizana with an ashisis, or a Jew that's mizana with an ashisis, gets the same misa. So the Gemara takes that challenges that. As a goy that kills another goy, a goy that kills a Jew, mi'ikar is sayef. When he was a goy, he would get the sayef penalty. The hashda, now that he's a Jew, if he would kill a Jew, sayef, he gets the sayef penalty. So therefore, I can understand that you keep the din. Ela Ashes is, when a ben noach is mizana with Ashes is, he would get a sayef, mikar sayef. Now that he became a Jew and he's mizana with Ashes is, he would get chenek, bahashta chenek. So his misa did change. And says the Gemara, benara marasa de skila, talking about he was mizana with a nara hamurasa. So as a goy, if he was mizana with a nara hamarasa, a Jewish nara hamarasa, then he would get skila. And as a goy, as a yid is mizana with a nara hamarasa, he would get skila. So his misa didn't change. Frank the Gemara also can be Yisrael. We're not talking about a nara hamarasa. We're talking about an eshes ish. Just like the first part of the Brisa says, Ben Noach that was mizana with his friend's wife. Obviously, it's not a nara hamarasa because there's no such thing of a goyish nara hamarasa. So the Sefer is also talking about he's mizana with a Jewish married woman, but a regular married woman. So again, the Misa did change. First, if you mizana as a ben noach with an Eishishis, you get sayef, and as a Yisrael that's mizana with an Eishishis, now that he became a Jew, he gets chanek. So his Misa did change. So he should get exempt. Rab Chanina says once your midin gets and Misa gets changed up, you're exempt from the whole thing. Ella says the Gemara, Kala b'chamura mishashayach. But the truth is, he didn't really get exempt because as a goy, he got sayef. Now that he's mizana, if he would do it right now as a Jew, he would get chenek. So it went lighter. He's getting a lighter punishment. Within a heavier punishment is the lighter punishment. So his misa did not change. So the Gemara says, that makes more sense according to Rabbanim. The sayef chomer. The sayef that he would have gotten as a goy who's mizana with an ashish ish, so that would be chomer. That's more severe than a Yisrael that's mizana with an ashish ish. That only gets chenek. Rab Shimon dama chenek chomer, chenek is more severe. Ma'ikla meimar, his misa did not change. His misa got worse. So when he did the misa as a goy, it wasn't included in the chenek that he was going to get as a yid. And says the Gemara, Rab Shimon, so I will look at Tana, the Bey Menashe. He holds like the Tana Bey Menashe, who said, "Kol misa amura l'vnei noach and bechenek." Any misa a noach gets is with chenek. So even a ben noach that's mizana with an H Yisrael ish would also get chenek. That's the Bey Menashe. So the Gemara says, "Bishlam H ish mikar chenek v'hashta chenek." Okay, now we go backwards. First you get chenek, and now you get chenek. Ela Rutzeach, but Rutzeach, according to Bey Menashe, Mikara Chenek v'hashta sayef. According to Rab Shimon, as a Ben Noach, you were getting Chenek, and now as a Yisrael, if you would kill another Jew, you would get Saif. And says Gemara, right, but Rabbi Shimon holds that chenek is chomer. And so now it went as becoming a Jew, you're getting Saif. Kala b'chamura, so you're getting the easier one. Kala b'chamura, meshach shayach. The easier misa is always part of the stricter misa. So his misa didn't change, so therefore he's not exempt. Lema Messiah, let us prove. There's a brisa that says sarcha v'achkach barra tida mechenek. An hour marasa that messed up. So as an hour marasa, she's supposed to get skila, but now when we started the trial, she's a baigeres. So tidim mechenek, then she gets the regular chenek of an eshasis. B'skila, my time of why don't we give her skila lav mishum hoyel v'ishtani. Since she changed her body, she changed. The kolshkin hacha over here. So we're not giving her chenek. We're gonna give her not gonna give her skila. We're gonna give her chenek. But over here, the ishtani legamri. By our case or Chanina's case, he's totally changed. He went from a goy to a yid. So not only did the way you put him to trial change, but his misa changed. It went from sayef to skila, and it went from a worst. And says the Gemara, Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, the Tana Tanei didn't miskila. According to Rabbi Yochanan, he changed the brisa, and he actually says that even though her body changed, she still gets the skila. And now Marasa that matured still will get a skila. If you start the trial when she's a begeris already, we still give her the skila. We don't go with this business nishtani. Comes out according to Rabbi Yochanan, he would disagree with Rabbi Chanina because Rabbi Chanina said that Benoyach that changes and becomes a Jew, and he changed two things: not only his din, but also his misa would change. So then his misa would change. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore you potter completely. According to Rabbi Yochanan would say, no, you judge him the way he was originally judged before. So Ben Noach that became a ger, and he cursed Hashem when he was a goy, so you won't give him the skila, because when he did the aver, he was a goy, we'll give him sayef. The same way we're going to give a Nar Marasa that was Mazana, and she was an Ashes, but she's now Marasa. Torah says you get skila. And then we started the trial when she was a Begaris, and she's supposed to only get chenek. If she did it right now, we'll still say that no, she should get the skila as when she did the Avera. So according to Rabbi Yochanan would disagree with Rab Chanina. Okay, we'll begin the next Mishnah tomorrow. Bez Hashem.